There's no such thing as risk-free greatness. I read that this morning in a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it perfectly encapsulates why most people never even enter the arena. And so in this weekly episode, I want to unpack what this quote means to me from the perspective of having been an investor, having been a founder, and having been a CEO. And this is for all the first-time founders and first-time leaders that are out there, and they are leveling up, or at least trying to, as they unlock the next version of themselves. He's commenting basically and really showing support for Olympian Lindsey Vonn, who this week a lot of people have been getting a lot of shit for, because she, went after it and she did an Olympic run and got pretty injured, going into already with a pretty bad injury. So in it, he served up a couple amazing quotes. Quote number 1. What these people don't understand, because they've never tried anything great, because they've never pushed themselves to the absolute edges of their limits, because they'll never know their real potential, is that there's no such thing as risk-free greatness. The reason why it spoke to me so much is because we have one life. We have literally one life. We have one shot at this incredible life that we live. And in that one shot, there's so many things that we can hope for. We can hope to have impact. We can hope to have a legacy. There's all these things that we can hope for. But you know what was so powerful about this particular set of sentences that he wrote is that he talks about how there's also a desire and a way of living that is pushing ourselves to the absolute edges of our limits and just seeing what happens. I'm really starting to see that this is a pattern. I used to be a former investor, and I had the honorable privilege of over a decade-long time as a venture capitalist here in New York, talking to 4,000 entrepreneurs, one-on-one, a few dozens of which have really, really made honorable impact with their businesses. The pattern that you see across, especially those founders who, frankly, are serial entrepreneurs like my old boss, when they got the money, they have the credibility, they have the sort of local fame, but why are they still doing it? Ultimately, what they'll say is they're doing it because they want to see how far they can push themselves, and not just push themselves, but push like humanity. So that's what this whole quote was here. There is no risk-free greatness in the pursuit of just pushing yourself to the absolute edge of what your limit is. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who want to go through life and never really want to push their limits because, your limit, when you're at your limits, it's there's a lot of psychological warfare that happens. When I was a CEO, managing a team of up to 20, creating a business worth 30 million, there was a period where it's easy to get caught up in the muck. And the muck is the expectations of others. In my case, the expectations of investors. And everyone experiences muck. Professional athletes experience all the time. It's the muck of fan expectations. And it's important to have expectations from others, but it's also important to not have it get to you. What you find in this talk track, I guess, of studying those who have really gone after it is, one, oftentimes is never on their first try. So they fall and they have to get back up again. I mean, look at IBM, right? The founding of IBM was a guy who worked at this company called NCR way, way, way back in the day. And he literally was sued by the government for antitrust stuff, nearly imprisoned for a year. And he still came back and then created IBM, a totally different company in a different space, but built upon the skills that he had prior. And IBM is one of the most iconic companies ever. It's one of the few generational companies that we have in the United States. And it's literally founded by a guy who was convicted. I mean, most people who go after it, they don't achieve it on their first time. They do it on their second or their third, or sometimes their fifth or sixth try. And this is why I find this quote so fascinating, right? There is no such thing as risk-free greatness. So when you're in the pursuit of doing anything where you're betting on yourself, and I would say that entrepreneurship, it isn't just creating a VC-backed business. I grew up in the Bay Area. My parents both worked in tech. My dad, part of that OG set of Asian immigrants who worked in semiconductors in Silicon Valley, right next to Apple's headquarters. It's really easy to get caught up in the Bay Area, way of thinking what entrepreneurship is, which is that it needs to be VC-backed. And heck, I'm in the business of VC-backed businesses, right? As a former venture capitalist and then also a founder who took on, 10 million from VCs when building this first business. But the truth is that entrepreneurship is everywhere. And that's the beauty about being here in New York. New York is home to so many great, incredible types of entrepreneurship. Like content creation is entrepreneurship. Just as much as creating a VC-backed business is also entrepreneurship. Just as much as selling your own show to Netflix is entrepreneurship. Just as much as being an author and creating your own book series is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just taking a bet on yourself, on this idea that you have and of which you go after it. And I get it. There's a lot of people in life who don't want to be entrepreneurs. I honestly, I don't even know if I grew up really wanting to be an entrepreneur myself. It's not something that, I was told. It's not something that I was necessarily exposed to as a child of immigrants. Where if anything, the more stable thing to do is, be a doctor, be an engineer, be a lawyer, and maybe if none of those work out, be in business. You can be great, certainly, of course, betting on yourself, right? Because then you're going after the vision that is in your mind, and you're letting that compulsion of the vision take over you as you literally will that into existence. I mean, that's magic, right? That's the magic of pursuing greatness. But you can also be great working for other people. But I think that level of greatness really only emerges when that vision that you are working towards that someone else has built speaks to you, deeply speaks to you. Every week, I release an episode based on a quote that speaks to me from a leader, from a podcast, from a book that I've read, that are all quotes I wish that I had in my own CEO's journey that would have made me be a better leader. And I share these with anyone out there who is a first-time founder, first-time CEO, first-time leader, just leveling up from pushing beyond being an individual contributor, a director, head of, VP, even and frankly an SVP, as you then cross the chasm